Every morning, my father enters my room, comes towards my bed, and starts shaking me. Ludo, wake up. And as all of you can imagine, this part of the morning breaks in two parts. During the first 5 minutes, I just sit on that bed, trying to understand who am I, where am I, and who is the guy that just disturbed my deep sleep. While for the rest of the time, I just sit there whining and complaining in all the languages I know. It's normal. It's part of being human. You understand. Gotta go to school, gotta go to work. But in some places of the world, fathers do not go and wake up their sons for school. Because there are no schools. Because the fathers of those kids are wearing a flag on one shoulder. Because the fathers of those kids are using their hands to hold a rifle. Their only complaint? That the world doesn't care. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I am talking about the Middle East crisis. What most astonishes me about this discussion is that, well, there is no discussion. And you might say, Ludo, well, you know what you're talking about. We see it on the news once in a while. Syrians are killing other Syrians, and Palestinians are killing Israelis. Well, yes, but did you ever see this? The war in Syria has been raging on for more than 5 years. I was only 12 and still playing with Lego when this war started. And I'm now here talking about it at age 17. Since 2011, 470,000 people have died in this conflict. 10% of the population has now been killed or wounded. If we want to compare it to Florence, 122% of the population would have died by now. The Syrian deaths exceed the living beings here in Florence. Now, these casualties come from the Syrian army, the Syrian rebels, the Kurds, and the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, most known as ISIS. But what is incredible is that almost 5,000 civilian casualties stand on the shoulders of the Europeans and the United States. There's an atrocious civil war going on, and we airstrike the homes, the schools, and the hospitals of Syrian families to stop terrorist organizations? Well, you might say it's all for a good cause, for a better future without the fear of being attacked. Yes, but we are airstriking the homes of others to preserve ours. When you go home tonight, I would like all of you to ask yourself some questions. Am I knowledgeable? Am I interested in what else is happening in the world? Am I grateful for the peace I am living on my doorstep? And most importantly, do I care? Well, I hope, because this is Qayyada, a city in Iraq that has been held from the Islamic State, the richest terrorist organization in human history, for more than 2 years. On the 14th of September of this year, the Iraqi army liberated the city. BBC journalists found the city that once alive and prosperous, a hell on earth. Unfortunately, what they have also discovered is that the Islamic State had built tunnels throughout the whole city to prevent any kind of harm from our airstrikes. Now, we have bombarded this city for more than 2 years, and only now we discover it has brought to absolutely nothing, only to more civilian casualties than before. This is the proof that airstrikes have not resulted in anything in Iraq nor in Syria. To summarize, the Western powers have rained down more than 16,000 airstrikes over Iraqi and Syrian soil. This is no simple civil war. If we don't solve this problem, it will become a world issue. People say this is not our war. But Alan Duncan, a professional British soldier, decided to fly to the hot spot and confront the Islamic State himself. He said, and I quote, "I was fed up with watching the world do nothing. If the Islamic State got their caliphate in the Middle East, the next step would be Europe. Nice, Paris would be nothing to what we would see. This isn't just a fight for the Syrians. This is a fight for the West. This is a fight for humanity." On the 22nd of September of this year, an American boy wrote a letter to President Barack Obama offering a place in his home for a Syrian boy refugee he saw on television. Now, kids are understanding the problem more than countries are. Ladies and gentlemen, countries are closing their borders while kids are opening their arms. But people say this is not our war. But the Islamic State promised that by 2020 they would conquer Rome and the Vatican. They promised they would decapitate the Pope in front of our powerless eyes. Chats were intersected of two extremists joking on how pleasuring it would be to drop a nuclear missile on the city of London. Now, we have all heard the sirens of the two Paris attacks, the Copenhagen terror, and the shattering glass of the metros in Brussels. We now know what this organization is capable of in Europe. We now know they are among us. And we have no idea of what are the plans they have reserved for our future. Iraqis, Syrians, and Lebanese did not have the privilege that we now possess: knowledge. We now know what could happen to us, to our families, to our homes. But people say, this is not our war. But what do you say? This is about you. What if someday, like Alan Duncan said, the extremists do arrive here? What are you going to tell your family? That while the world was falling apart, you preferred to sit on the couch and watch Game of Thrones? This is not 1938 anymore. We confront world issues. We do not eliminate them from the map. I am here today because I must do my part in this tremendous war. Because good deeds, one good deed, gives out a ripple effect. One good deed can give out another and another. You can donate to organizations like Migrant Offshore Aid Station that gives rescue boats for children trying to escape the terrors of the war. or to Hand in Hand for Syria, one of the only organizations that brings water, food, clothes, and builds shelters for the citizens afflicted by the war. Or you could simply talk, spread the word, make others understand the critical situations. Make parents understand that this might influence their children's future. We live in the most peaceful time in human history, thanks to democratization. So let's use this tool to give the opportunities we now have to others, so that maybe one day a Syrian boy may complain about being woken up by his father, just as I do every morning.